In video 1, you learned how to create and save a customized Top Science Excel workbook. In video 2, you learned how to create a new observation and enter pre-observation data in your workbook. In video 3, you learned how to load an observation record in your workbook. This video demonstrates how to record the 10-minute interval observation data for that record in your workbook. If you have not already done so, open your Top Science Excel workbook, enable the macros, restore the function buttons, and load the desired observation record to edit. Now you are ready to begin recording your observation. Go to the Interval tab. For each observation, you will collect data in 10-minute intervals. You will create a new 10-minute interval for every 10-minute observation period. This means if you're observing a class for 40 minutes, then you'll end up creating 4 intervals for the observation. If the class is 45 minutes long, then you'll end up creating 5 intervals for the observation. Confirm the desired observation ID is listed at the top of the page. If it is not, then return to the Pre-Post tab, select the desired observation from the list, then load the selection. Notice in the upper left corner of the page, interval 01 is listed in the header. Also, 01 has been added to the observation ID. These indicate that this is the first 10-minute interval for this observation. To begin recording observation data for the first interval, hit the timestamp button at the top of the page. This marks the current time both in the interval toolbar in the Interval tab and in the first row of interval data for this observation in the Interval Data tab. You will need to determine a targeted end time 10 minutes from this time and keep track of that time. If you forget to click the timestamp button at the beginning of an interval, you can click the timestamp button at any time and then type directly in the gray timestamp box to edit the timestamp. If you do type directly in the timestamp gray box, the user timestamp in the interval data will reflect the time you provided. Next, complete the interval form. You'll need to work quickly to record all the ratings and evidence during a particular 10-minute interval. Trying to recall the ratings and evidence after an observation can lead to missing and erroneous data. To do a hard return, for example to start a new line or paragraph, hold down the Alt key and hit the Return key. When entering category codes, you should check at least one of the multiple subcategories or select No Evidence 0 under Level. More than one subcategory code may be selected. For example, students may be planning and carrying out investigations while developing and using models. However, only one level code and one technology integration code can be selected. The level and technology integration codes should be selected based on what best reflects the entirety of the 10-minute observation period. If you have any questions about key terms used on this form or the pre-post form, you can look them up in the Reference tab. For example, if you're confused about what contextualized teaching subcategories mean, you can look them up here. You may save your work at any time during the 10-minute interval by clicking the Update and Save button. However, you must save it at the end of the interval. Clicking the Update and Save button at the top of the Interval tab saves all your data in the Interval Data tab. The first time you click the Update and Save button, you'll get a Create New Interval pop-up. This will warn that this action will update and save the database with the new interval record. Click OK to complete a new record or row in the Interval Data tab with the data that you've entered in the interval form and save the entire workbook. You may update and save the interval multiple times during a given 10-minute observation period. After the first time, subsequent saves will result in a Modify Existing Interval pop-up. This will warn that the record already exists in the database. Click OK to update that record and save the entire workbook. Remember, you must use the Update and Save button to save your work in the Top Science Excel workbook in order to have data from the Interval tab aggregated into the Interval Data tab. Simply using an Excel save function will not accomplish this. To begin the next interval, click the plus New Interval button in the Interval toolbar. A Prepare New Interval with Current Data pop-up will open with 3 options. Note the order of the buttons for these options may vary between a Mac and a Windows operating system. Click on the button of your choice. If the activities in the new interval are a continuation of the activities you just recorded, then click Yes to carry the current data to the new interval. You may edit it as needed once you begin the new interval. If the activities in this new interval will be new and you'd like to start the new interval with a blank worksheet, then click No. If you've not updated and saved the current interval, click Cancel, go back, update and save as directed in the previous step, and then click New Interval button again. We're going to imagine that the activities in this next interval are mostly a continuation of the activities we just recorded in a previous interval, and we're going to click Yes. Once you start the new interval, notice in the upper left of the page, interval number 02 is listed in the header. 02 has also been added to the record's observation ID. These indicate that this is the second interval for this observation. The timestamp has also been automatically updated. You can reset the timestamp to mark or adjust the interval start time by clicking Timestamp. Repeat these steps, recording observations for 10-minute intervals, updating and saving the interval data, and then loading the new interval until the class is over. You can create as many intervals as needed. During an observation, you might find it necessary to return to a previous interval to edit or add more text. Before changing intervals, make sure you update and save the interval you are currently working in. Then, use the scrollable list in the upper left corner to locate the desired interval and load the selection. If you're certain you have updated and saved the interval that you are currently working on, click OK to load the new selection. Now you may edit the previous interval. Once you've finished recording all your observations, don't forget to click the Update and Save button. This ensures any previously unsaved interval data gets saved to the Interval Data tab. When you're finished, close the Top Science Excel workbook. When you're ready to begin a new observation in your Top Science Excel workbook, see video 5 for a demonstration on how to prepare your workbook for a new observation. Visit the Top Science page on the EDC's website for additional Top Science tutorial videos or to access the Top Science Excel Observer Reference Guide, which provides a detailed overview of the Top Science Excel workbook, including technology requirements, background on how the protocol was developed, and information on what each portion of the protocol entails.